Emily, when you're ready.
The sun had long set on the east end.
Can I kill Emily? Can I kill her?
Jack looked down at the palm of his hands.
I've killed more people than I can count. Why am I hesitating now for? But...
Good morning, Jack. I'd like to introduce myself properly if you don't mind. I'm Emily Whiteley. It's a pleasure to meet you. Right then, since we've never had a chance to speak to one another, I thought today might be a good day to try.
she always treated me proper. Like another human being. Like a friend.
Jack, if it's no trouble to you, I have a thought.
One moment. Continue, please.
How would you feel about exchanging letters? I'm looking forward to your reply. You must write one now, all right?
Perhaps it wasn't anything special to others, but it was a first for me. Something funny?
Oh, I'm just happy to be able to sit next to you. That's all.
I still don't understand you. What's there to be happy about?
You, of course. Back when we first met, you were almost vigilant in how you pushed everyone away. But now, you let me sit next to you. I can talk to you as much as I'd like.
Nobody's ever smiled so happily next to me in my own life. Nobody.
Jack admired the white handkerchief given to him by Emily.
I can't do it. I could never do that to her.
He balled it within his fist with an intensity that caused his entire hand to tremble.
She did my head in at first. Then she became why I looked forward to school. It wasn't long, but each day with her was brighter and warmer than any day I ever knew. I wish I could go back there and talk to her more.
But he knew very well that it was too late for that. As he observed from above, he spotted a number of Scotland Yard officers on patrol, each one moving with a wary but inspired swagger.
Is it me?
Sure, go for it, Tom.
Time switch. See anyone suspicious?
Tom?
So, you?
Same for me. The people try to help, they have. Just mostly rumors and the like haven't led to anything yet.
Of course you ain't seen a soul. I wouldn't let you. I know how to stay out of a copper's sights. It's what I've done since I was a boy. I'd never let him catch me in the act. Only one who can do that is him. He knows how I work. But if I disobey one of the Colonel's orders again, I'll need to slum it out away from London. No, even if I left London, I wouldn't be safe. The organisation will come after me. They stop at nothing to eliminate traitors. It's to be the case for Emily too, seeing as she saw me.
Yes, there wasn't a doubt what they planned for her in his mind, which set him tense and terrified equally. He could not bear to stay still.
I've got to go. Now. Got no idea if she'll believe what I'm saying, but still. I just need to get her out of the city. I don't wish to scare her any more than I've got to, but she has to know.
Securing the handkerchief on his person, Jack slipped deeper into the shadows.
There goes the hunt for evidence. Anything?
Not a blasted scrap to be found. I've instructed the men to report anything and everything. Oh, and a fine plan that's turned out to be.
Very well then. Keep at it. I understand how exhausting it's been for patrols alone. The criminal has been persistent, committing the murders between late night and early morning. Won't be much longer.
We certainly will.
Sherlock Holmes. The Yard's got his help, and even then, they can't sniff out a lead. They don't even see me standing under their noses. How do they hope to catch a bloody murderer like this? Put your backs into this now, detectives.
Midnight had struck. Scotland Yard, though fatigue had begun to persuade them as they neglected to turn the right corners, were ever dutiful in watching the streets. Not even they, however, could restore what little faith there had been to Whitechapel. Death prowled the East End with a proud stench stronger than the bells of its local church could chime.
That's it. I'll make me way to the Whiteley mansion.
And so he moved with all due haste. To his observations, the night was young, and with the police presently occupied at the scene, the rest of the city would be light in security. He did suppose the mansion itself would be well equipped with guards and the like, as any noble's mansion might be with a killer roaming the streets, but that would pose no issue for him. The fog hanging at the rooftops proved valuable cover as he continued on. The Whiteley mansion stood southwest of the Thames. Jack the Ripper was poised to arrive at any time, and so Scotland Yard's men stood barrel-chested, bottomlets pouted but stern, and weapons at the ready should a confrontation come about. They would be fools to only have them standing guard. In addition to the obvious, more lay hidden behind shrubbery or whatever else could be used as cover. In their eyes, no passage had gone unchecked. That's the chime for midnight.
My lady, I should ask you again to stay away from the windows. The curtains are drawn, but that alone does not promise you safety. The Ripper may already be aware this is your bedroom.
I'm sorry. I've become so used to enjoying the night breeze from here, you see.
Even so, tomorrow is Monday. You would like to attend class regardless of the threat, yes? Then you'd best get to bed. Any longer, and you won't be able to concentrate. You weren't able to sleep last night either, were you?
Both very agreeable points. But before I do, Holmes and his father are both in Whitechapel tonight, aren't they?
It's a rather important case, so they must attend to the scene of the crime.
Right then. A loud noise pelted the windows, giving me a stop.
Not to worry, my lady. Just the wind. The fog's become quite thick as well.
Despite the wind roaring with fury, it seemingly did nothing to lessen the fog, which was simply too dense to be blown away. It perhaps sounded worse than it was in reality, for it did not drown out the sudden knocking at the front entrance. Who could that be? It's awfully late for visitors.
Stay here. I shall go and greet them.
Pendleton departed, leaving me to reflect within my birdcage in silence. 2 police officers stood before the main entrance. Pendleton knew it would be unwise to open the door for anyone at that time, which was why he chose first to call out to the men.
Excuse me, might you tell me who our visitor is?
Jordan, please.
Alright. It's Lady Whiteley's schoolmate, Watson. Holmes' assistant, sir.
It's me, Pendleton. I wanted to see how Emily is doing. I've been worried about her.
Ah, but of course. Please, come inside.
Thanks.
Pendleton immediately escorted Watson upstairs and bid me to step outside my room. Watson's face, which had grown increasingly pale along the way, gained some color back as he saw me. I'm so glad you're safe, Watson.
Not as glad as I am about you. Couldn't stop thinking about it. Everything's gone well here. Oh, everything's gone well here, then?
Very much so. Has there been any progress at the scene?
I wish I had a better answer to that. The man who goes by Leather Apron is under questioning, but it doesn't seem promising. If anything were to happen before he's released, that would be evidence enough that he's innocent.
Certainly. Any lead is better than nothing with the public so terrified. They've started to doubt everyone around them.
We've had some willing to speak with information, but nothing's come of them so far. I just hope we can close this case soon. I feel more at ease knowing you're doing well, at least.
Watson took my hand into his own.
You stay safe for me, alright? And for you.
Thank you, Watson. He spoke with clarity and genuine affection, so much so that I was unsure of the appropriate response.
We'll catch Jack the Ripper before anything more happens. I just wanted to say that before I was off again. Sorry for the late night visit.
Oh, you're always welcome. You stay safe, Watson, and don't hesitate to pester Holmes if he starts to exhaust himself.
Yes, I agree in the chat. That's my job! Good night, then.
Watson let go of my hand, only stepping away just enough to allow Pendleton the last word.
You ought to sleep now, my lady. Leave the rest to me.
Very well. I trust you to look after things, Pendleton. I returned to my room, leaving Pendleton to escort Watson back to the entrance.
Watson, might I have a minute of your time?
Of course.
You're aware of the photograph featuring the Ripper's letter, correct?
Yes, I am. Holmes said to let him know if she's learned anything new from it.
Well, as much as it pains me to do this with Lady Whiteley's back turned, I took it upon myself to compare the handwriting to one of the letters she received from Jack Miller's.
Letters? Jack's been writing letters to her?
The two have exchanged a number of them, it appears.
What? I had no idea. When did that start?
If I may continue.
Oh, please do.
The handwriting is almost identical, to where I would not be surprised if they were penned by the same hand.
Can't be. Mr. Mackenzie showed me some of Jack's classwork. He didn't look at all like the threat's letters.
It wouldn't. I believe there's enough evidence to claim he changed his style deliberately. Yet even he failed to account for every characteristic unique to him. Take note of the way he writes the letters O and L.
You're right. You know, Holmes mentioned this as well.
So I'm not alone in my thinking. A careless mistake on his part, then.
I do recall him being relaxed around Emily, so it makes for a convincing argument.
Then you are suspicious of him?
Not suspicious as such. I'm just not very fond of his rapport with Emily. Bothers me.
I think I'm finally starting to feel tired. I sat atop my bed and observed my room. The curtain over the window had been ever so slightly ruffled, an unusual lack of perfection on Pendleton's part, allowing me to view the outside. But with the fog as it was, I could hardly see more than the silhouette of the moon. Our teacher said the fog contains toxic substances from the city's factories. I wonder if that's really true. In a sense, that would make it London's greatest adversary, a weapon created by its own hand. As I worked to view the moon more closely, I heard an unexpected noise. Something was tapping the window. What could that be? The wind? How alarming! I was wide awake again as my body tensed from nerves. Soon after, I heard the sound again. It was much more apparent than the last. I gulped. Is someone there? Try as I did, it was barely above a whisper. The room was, to my misfortune at the moment, much too large for anyone but me to hear. But what misfortune was there if no one was around to hear me? And yet...
It's me!
A muffled response came from outside. Muffled, but still familiar. Jack, is that you?
Jess, I'm out here! I need to talk to you about something. I couldn't write anything proper for your letter. Sorry.
Did he find the letter I left him?
I need you to open this window. We need to talk.
My entire body began to shiver. Whether it was from relief, fear, or happiness, I didn't know. It may have well been all of them. I just didn't know.
Can you open it?
He must have seen that I wasn't moving. All manner of scenarios began to overlap in my mind, and I decided to open the window. I didn't respond, but I did stand and approach the window. Was he the Jack I knew? Or was he a devil better known as Jack the Ripper? Whatever the answer to his identity, if he wanted me dead, then my last day alive would have long since passed. I pulled away the curtain and flipped through the latch that secured the window. Upon opening it, I stepped aside to allow the man who could be a friend of the maker of my death inside. My trembling wouldn't stop.
Thanks.
The fog, heavy as it was, briefly plumed into my room. And finally, Jack appeared, placing his feet on the frame. You're here, Jack. The trembling grew worse. What was I feeling? What could I say now?
You afraid? Shan't be, if you can help it. Right, here's the Jack Millers you went to school with, and no one different. But then, you're a brave girl to let me in after what's happened.
You could have killed me earlier if you wanted, but you didn't. All this time, I wanted to know why, and... I looked to Jack, but when I did, I lost my voice.
What?
There was so much I wanted to ask him, but my emotions swelled to create a hitch in my throat. It nearly hurt to speak, but I pushed on. Everything I wrote to my letter, I meant all of it. I've wanted to see you again all this time. Jack appeared taken aback by my confession.
Oh, I see.
Why didn't you kill me then, Jack? And his discomfort grew. He turned his eyes away as if he couldn't bear to look at me.
I didn't cause you're an important friend. I couldn't do it when I saw your face. But if someone else were to have seen me, I'm sure
Jack cast his eyes downwards.
You wear the crown of a juggins if I ever seen one. Anyone else come up to your window, don't chance to open it, don't matter who it is.
After you told me to open it for you, that's a fair contradiction.
Won't deny it. I'm happy you trust me, but take care in the future.
Jack reached out his hand and touched my hair. I couldn't see where, but I was startled by the touch. What is it?
Nothing. Just a bit of dirt.
He smiled in this slight, serene way that gave me pause upon seeing it. I didn't know he could smile so sweetly.
Jack?
Oh, sorry. Forgot I was muted. So, haven't seen you in a bit. You been well?
Me? Well, why, you're the one who took leave for some illness.
Right. Sorry. Didn't come back even after it went away. A lot to manage since then.
A lot to manage, I'm sure, and with all that's happened, I never had any idea how you were doing. Jack, where have you been all this time? What have you...
Where? The East End. I've always lived there. I told you when we first met. I meant more, I had a lot to do. Work for me dad.
Jack, are you the Ripper from the paper everyone has been talking about? I asked him timidly, but I didn't look away.
Well, yes and no.
How does that work?
Suppose I mean more that the man responsible for the murders in the paper isn't me. They're likely to keep at it, but I don't know any more about his next target than you.
Wait, then you do know nothing about the letter in red?
Letter?
Yes, this one here. I quickly searched for and presented the photograph for him to inspect, and his brows twisted quite genuinely at the sight of it.
I've never seen this before. I've only ever written to you.
I was right then. I only asked because the investigation team suspect this may have been from the Ripper.
This is awful. He's gone out of his way to make it look like I wrote it myself. Doesn't look like it at first glance. That's what makes it smart.
His lip curled at the corner in a snarl. The letter, and whoever penned it, clearly made him visibly ill with disgust. Oh, you don't know what a relief that is. If you had truly written this...
And I should think I never would. I'd never call you pretentious or anything else.
So engaged was Jack in his anger that I wasn't able to tell if he stopped talking to keep calm, or if he simply didn't have the heart to continue. Jack, What is it?
It's nothing. You're still a queer sort in my eyes. I grew up in the shadows. Always kept to my own business. The city, the academy, I never tried standing out. Didn't want to. Yet, you had to go and notice me. No, you found me. Even presently, I didn't know if I'd reach you with the security as it is. I just wanted to see you. And you led me right to you. Came to me.
Of course I did. You've never left my mind all this time, Jack. I didn't know what was happening to you. This whole time I've been racked with worry. Admitting it made my chest tighten splendidly with emotion. It wasn't a single emotion. My body had gone awry with them, tugging itself in a number of directions. But the worry, the doubt, the uncertainty were no longer among them. Those feelings which had been pricking my heart like tiny icicles now thawed as snow in the warmth of spring.
I swear it I do, that you're too blessedly soft for your own blessed good. I wish I hadn't caused you worry.
His hand touched my shoulder lightly and moved down my arm. When he took me by the wrist, his thumb rubbed against the top of my hand as if to comfort me. All is forgiven. It's been one surprise after another, but you're here and you're healthy. That is everything I needed.
You're a fool. You've seen me murder a man, but you let me in here. You don't even act afraid.
Oh, that isn't true. I was certainly afraid then, but you had me promise not to say anything. I know now that I ought to have stayed calm and analyzed the situation better. But I wanted to believe in you with all my heart.
That only helps what I just said, you know.
As his smile went from serene to bitter, I remembered. This moment wouldn't last. He would soon be gone, and to that, my chest only grew tighter.
Emily, I must have you listen closely to what I'm about to say. It's important.
What is it? Jack's tone seemed to drop in response to the gravity of the situation.
You've got to run away from here. You're in danger.
Jack? Tension, unease, fear, and so on, hints of each carried from his tone to his eyes, now opened wide and glassed at the surface in a way not unlike the build-up before one cries.
I'm not the one out to kill you. I'm just the bottom rung of a particular organization. But that's something no one should have known. So really, I was meant to kill you when you seen me. But I didn't. I couldn't do it. The worst person who could have learnt that's found out, and now he's got a mind for killing you himself. You've got celebrity in London, and you're a detective recognised by Her Majesty. It would be simple enough work to find this mansion.
But it's being protected by Scotland Yard. Pendleton is keeping watch as well, and he instructed me very sternly not to leave.
That's not going to be enough. If he wants something done, no amount of protection will do you any favours. Me standing here proves it well enough.
That may be so, but I opened the window because it was you. I wouldn't do that for anyone else.
Cheeky girl. I'm sure your parents would be none too pleased if they knew.
Although it wasn't his intention, the words did sting, and I became envious. A bit of paperwork was all that connected him and his adopted father. that still gave him a family. They aren't with us anymore. They died when I was a girl. That's why I have a duty to protect my family's name, and no one, not even a murderer, shall convince me to flee my home. Were I to run, the empire they fought to defend would forever be tarnished. And what of the servants? They've chosen to stand with me at this awful hour.
It's certainly a complex affair. You're young, but you've taken to being head of the household like it's the natural thing to do.
It is natural for me, and I won't turn my back on it. Think of something so precious to you that nothing would sway you to change it, and you'll understand why I chose to protect the Whiteley name.
Foolish, cheeky, and reckless.
Not as reckless as you, Jack.
I cannot argue any different. If you're staying, then I shall leave. Give my regards to the others.
Jack extended his hand to me once more, though he did not brush away dirt or stroke my hand as he did previously. I observed it with perplexion and sadness, the latter upon noticing that the bed of his nail still had traces of blood from his injury. Jack?
A handshake. We're friends, ain't we? Doubt I'll return to the academy, so we can't graduate together. That makes this our farewell.
What is this nonsense? I did take Jack's hand. But it wasn't for something as ridiculous as a distant handshake. I had no desire to say farewell to him, and so I wouldn't. You'll come back to class, won't you?
I may perhaps go back.
The response lacked commitment of any kind. Jack's eyes shifted to the side as a boy's would during a scolding that was well deserved. It made me no more confident he would return than he appeared to be. But the hope that he would was prettier. We'll all be waiting for you. Me, Holmes, Watson, Marple, and Mr. Mackenzie, absolutely. They're all eagerly praying to your good health. We can't wait to study with you again, and it would be lovely if we started to lunch together as well.
I wouldn't mind that. That does sound lovely. Except returning to pharmacology or taking lessons on proper etiquette. Can't bring myself to care for those.
Really? Oh, but I imagine by the time we're graduated, you'll have come to like them very much. Even if they never become useful to you. Learning to study in itself is a fantastic skill worth being learned.
I suppose.
And it doesn't have to be through a lecture with me. As long as you put your best foot forward, you'll already have everything you need to make loads of friends in class. You're speaking to me now with ease, so I'm quite certain you can do the same with everyone else. In fact, I promise you can. Just please, please. My voice cracked. What in heaven's name was I going on about? I couldn't tell him I wanted to return to school. I couldn't tell him I didn't want him to leave. What did telling him these scraps of hope solve? There was no solution I could present that made everything right again. As such, I came to understand the pain of being powerless.
Come on now. Do you have to give me that sour face? Here.
Hear what? Jack, with actions kinder than words, and feelings swayed by whatever face I wore present, removed a gift from his breast pocket.
Sorry for taking so long to give it back. Your letter said there was no rush. but I have a preference not to keep you waiting longer than necessary.
It was my handkerchief.
Besides, you look as if you need it now.
I do. Why?
You look about ready to cry.
Why must he be so considerate? Why fret over me so? He filled me with a pleasure that wouldn't be quick to forget. Oh, was he ever sweet, and being sweet made me mourn the moment more than if he were cold. I'm all right. I'd prefer if you keep it for now.
But it's yours.
It's a wonder you don't have one yourself with how often you're injured. You might need it again. But I'm only lending it to you. You'll have to return it to me one day. It was my pleasure to place my hand over his own and close it to ensure the handkerchief stayed with him.
No, thanks. I don't need it. I really...
Hesitant to accept, Jack went to withdraw his hand, but as he did... Oh! A flower vase near to us toppled. It did not break as it hit the ground, but the noise drummed loud enough to elicit a flicker of panic between us. One of the servants was bound to have heard it.
Ah, damn!
My first thought was to tell Jack to run.
My lady?
And yet, before the words left me, Pendleton could be heard crying out from beyond my door, his voice charged with alertness. It took no time at all before the door was flung open.
Don't move, Jack Millers.
Pendleton, equipped with a gun in hand, stood with the barrel pointed directly at Jack. Pendleton!
Keep your hands where I can see them. Step away from her. My lady, get behind me.
Please wait, Pendleton! He's...
Now. Shan't run away with your temper, good butler.
I was panicked. Jack, however, who stood before Pendleton, carried on as if he were in no danger at all. He played the situation with amusement, though only just to portray an apt amount of confidence.
I'm a former schoolmate of hers, and pointing a gun makes for a less than jolly joke, if I may say. Am I expected to believe a simple schoolmate could evade the police on watch and enter a room on the first floor? I've looked into your history, and it tells me you're plenty more than what you claim to be. You are one of Spellbound's assassins, a man known in criminal circles as Jack the Ripper. You were to enroll in Harrington Academy as a spy. Your task was to observe its students, and with its public ties to both the police and the royal family, it made the perfect place to retrieve information Spellbound could use to their benefit. Sharp man. Well done. It wasn't easy, I admit. I understand well that you've been protecting him, my lady, but he's done little more than to manipulate your feelings to his favor. Don't you dare come near her again!
Pendleton! He came to warn me that I was in danger! If I didn't speak now, Jack would only be mistreated as a criminal. I couldn't have that! I couldn't! But Jack, seemingly content with the perception, shook his head.
You needn't mind it, Emily. Only a fool would believe it. And he ain't a fool. If you have a man like him keeping watch on you, then I've got nothing to fear. So, goodbye.
Jack! A flash of movement, a single intake of breath on my part, heightened senses erupting from all corners of the bedroom, and there I stood, aghast, as Jack dashed to the window for a swift exit.
My lady, stand aside!
The gun went from a warning to a weapon as Pendleton went to pull the trigger. I can't stand, or I will grab Pendleton's arm! Don't! I grabbed Pendleton's arm. I could not stop him, but the force of my grip shifted his aim. The gun fired. It claimed no one's life, instead bolting through the roof just outside the window. The damage was as such that I could hardly see it.
My lady, what a...
He stared, open-mouthed. I'm sorry.
I missed my chance.
He clicked his tongue. My actions did nothing to stay his anger. Smoke faintly plumed from the barrel. And Jack, to my delight, though I was careful not to show it, was gone.
You're to stay away from the window, my lady, and do not open it under any circumstances. Have I made myself clear?
I am sorry. What was this? I hadn't expected my voice to tremble.
Nika?
My lady, what happened? Are you injured?
Alicia, short of breath as unnerved, burst into the room with several other maids accompanying her. Pendleton issued orders in their direction with great immediacy.
Alicia, telephone Sergeant Ryan. Inform him that an intruder has fled from the mansion's northeast.
The officers lining the mansion's borders turned in unison as they heard a loud burst echo through the fog.
Narfi.
It was gunfire. Came from the first floor.
One other was alerted, Watson, who was still near. He too turned toward the source of the noise, becoming pale while simultaneously kissing God's hand that he happened to be around to hear any horrors.
It's from... Could that have been Emily's room? But how? Couldn't have gotten past Scotland Yard.
His mind was made up quickly. Watson turned heel and ran in the opposite direction. There would be no need for him at the mansion.
He intends to return to the East End now. He's bound to pass through here.
A spot-on assessment, it would seem, as he continued at full speed in silence, puffs of breath trailing behind him from the cold. He found his man. Jack was within his sights.
It is you. Then you... Emily was...
Afraid I don't know. If you're worried, why not go back to the mansion and have yourself a show? Free tickets.
So long as I capture you, that's all I want.
That's so. You're wanting to be killed first then? You're a bolder chap than I took you for.
And so he raised his claws. Jack closed the gap between the two, swinging upwards as his first defense.
I said I want to be killed. I said I want to catch you.
Blooming idiot! You think I don't know how to avoid capture?
Watson did not take well to standing solely in defense. By instinct and a short temper, he pulled back his fist to swing in Jack's direction.
Think you've got me up when that's the best you've got?
Watson failed in his assault, and Jack slipped from his sights. All he could see, no matter which direction he turned, was a thick fog swirling about into night's blackness.
Narfi.
Are you alright?
An officer, having heard two voices in the distance, arrived at the scene.
Larry, but Jack was here. Jack Millers was here.
I'm so sorry. Had I come just a bit sooner.
Damn. You can't have come back to the East End to...
Ah, Watson! There you are, lad!
Ryan soon followed, looking genuinely short of breath.
We've just received a message from the inspector.
Did we? Anything change?
Very much so. He said another murder's been committed in Whitechapel.
What? That's impossible.
I'm afraid it is possible. It matches the Ripper's brutal methods. And it was the second to have occurred tonight. The first occurred about an hour before.
No, that's not it. It's impossible because I fought with him here a few minutes ago.
Then what about what the inspector said? It's the truth. The most recent murder is estimated to have taken place around about 1:30 a.m, whilst the other one around 12:45.
Doesn't make sense. Even with a cab, it would take a half hour to get from the Whiteley mansion to Whitechapel. The first murder, I could see, but the second one couldn't have been committed by him.
You're right. If he was here with you, then what's going on with this case?
Well, did you apprehend him?
No. We found the bodies, but Jack the Ripper was nowhere to be seen.
God's sake, pull yourselves together. I'll do the same. Let's return to the mansion and see if anything more has happened yet.
Alright. Now hold on! Why am I being ordered around? I'm your elder!
Come on, hop to it.
Yes, sir. Coming.
What horror. I never murdered twice in the same night before.
Nor has he gone to the effort of scrawling graffito all about the wall.
I can only assume he's gained an appetite for taunting the yard.
Indeed, I don't doubt it.
Yet questions remain. Possessed you to remove the graffito before more thorough investigation.
Well,
Preserving the crime scene is common sense. Do you expect me to cooperate with your men? They cannot adhere to the most elementary laws of our work.
That will do, Father. You're behaving like a child.
Perhaps so. Seems my frustrations have bubbled to the surface.
I noticed. But the police has been useless for some time. I don't see why it would frustrate you now.
They have, Junior, yes. I'm more at fault with having higher expectations.
well. If we could move on to the case, gentlemen. The victim before us is a 44-year-old Swedish prostitute. She's very tall for a woman, as well as an exceptionally heavy drinker. Alcohol poisoning had long caused her to go mad,
The Holmeses then went to inspect the crime scene as best as they were able.
Narfi?
Inspector! We've acquired a scrap of bloodied white cloth in the waterway along Dorset Street. We found trace evidence that the waterway was used to wash away a large quantity of blood too.
Well, well. There was a square-shaped bit of cloth removed from the victim's apron. So it happens.
We're certainly in for a very long night.
That we are! Ah, but I'm sure the culprit cut this piece from the woman's apron. Now, if you don't mind me saying so, I've a theory he used his knife.
Silence, inspectors!
Pardon me.
Dawn began to ascend over the Whiteley mansion, followed soon by a morning lacking in both a scrumptious breakfast and aromatic tea. The very first thing I was greeted with, quite understandably, and at the same time to my hungry stomach, lamentably, was police questioning.
What? Jack Millers was here! Wasn't he taking leave?
He is, currently. I was surprised to see him.
Well, this is lovely. We're still no closer to confirming whether Jack Millers and Jack the Ripper are the same person. All we have confirmed is that police security is easily broken by a boy 17. You say you saw him, Watson?
I did. I was worried about Emily, so I came here to see how she was doing. I couldn't believe my eyes. Must have been 10 officers standing guard, but none saw him. Then we have counting 20 servants with him, all on watch. How did he do it?
A good question. That he duped this police is nothing, but to fool Pendleton, that is shocking.
That is baseless slander! How can you imply that maids and a butler make for better guards than officers of the yard?
So, what reason did Jack come here? How did he get inside?
I'll answer. Lady Whiteley spotted him at her window. Upon confirming his identity, she opened it and allowed him inside.
Holmes made his disapproval apparent upon responding.
That was rather careless of you, wasn't it?
But he's our friend.
They passed a short amount of time reminiscing. After which, he was adamant in his persuasions that she leave the mansion as soon as possible. He'd mentioned her life was in danger. Do I have the right of it, my lady?
Yes, everything so far is correct.
This helps us paint a fine picture, but if we could hear Lady Whiteley's perspective directly...
I regret that she has become deeply traumatized by this incident. Ah, but I did miss a detail. He stole your handkerchief before leaving through the window, did he not?
Nonsense! He didn't steal it! I lent it to him! God, Pendleton.
Well, that makes little difference. Regardless, I made to shoot him, but I don't believe the bullet made contact.
I do hope it didn't. I'd prefer he wasn't hurt. My one hope is that your aim has become less dependable by the year, but I still can't be too sure.
My lady?
Ah, how rude of me.
I hadn't realized until hearing this story how usually friendly you are with the culprit.
Don't be silly. Worrying about a schoolmate is far from unusual.
My point was that I witnessed him as well. In her bedroom, no less.
That's confirmation enough for me. Now, I'd like to go through the incident one more time.
Holmes then fell silent to reflect before launching into a summary of the night's events.
Around 1 a.m., Jack Miller's bypassed the police and reached outside Miss Whiteley's bedroom window on the first floor. How he managed to do so without detection remains unknown. What we do know is that upon seeing him, he was survived by none other than Miss Whiteley herself, who saw him as a friend. Their reunion lasted roughly below a half hour and discussed the matter of being in danger as mentioned earlier. Pendleton, upon detecting something amiss, entered Miss Whiteley's room and encountered her with Jack. He attempted to fire a bullet, but failed to land his target. Jack then escaped through the same window he entered, fleeing the scene entirely. During all of this, a woman was murdered in the East End's Whitechapel around 1 a.m. She's identified as Miss Elizabeth Stride. While there were no apparent injuries to the abdominal region, her neck was slashed deeply from one side to the other, matching the Ripper's previous murders. What sets this night apart is the second murder, committed almost immediately after Miss Stride's. The second victim, killed approximately 30 minutes later at Aldgate, has been identified as Miss Catherine Adles. She too had her throat cut horizontally, with her chest also sliced open vertically and her organs removed. Again, very similar to the Ripper's previous murders. What gives me pause is that Jack Miller visited Miss Whiteley between 1 a.m. and 1:30 a.m., coinciding with the timing of those two murders. In other words, our suspect has an ironclad alibi. And more than enough witnesses to conclude as much.
Precisely. Even discounting those at the mansion, I saw him myself.
The summary had left the room stunned. Holmes, who was reputable for his skills in seeing any criminal activity through an objective lens, had spoken so eloquently to Jack's defense that he almost sounded the part of a lawyer. Yet there was no counter.
Yes, well, we noticed that as well, of course. Jack Miller's does indeed have a strong alibi, which would render it impossible for him to commit last night's murders. My main concern is that these testimonies come from those close to him. I cannot easily accept them as fact, as you each have some reason to defend him, be it intentional or instinctive.
Are you mad? The man was happy to step into a woman's bedroom in the middle of the night. Why would I jump to his defense? We were schoolmates, yes. He barely said a word to any of us. He was no friend of mine. That I can promise you.
Interesting. Then, would you describe your relationship as poor?
As poor as you could imagine.
Watson heaved his shoulders in an indigent, exaggerated manner, too exaggerated for my personal liking.
I can't pretend to have been that friendly with him either. I was never fond of the way he glared at people. After Miss Whiteley joined the class, I did find myself talking to him on the very odd occasion, but that was all. We barely discussed much of anything before then.
And you, Pendleton?
I am the same. We've spoken very little, and I am repulsed by his breaking into Lady Whiteley's room. As the head of this family, it is my duty to protect her with my life. Why in God's name would I seek to defend such an indelicate hoodlum?
Of course. Completely understandable. My apologies for misunderstanding the situation, but this makes for valuable testimony.
Inspector Lestrade offered a hand in solidarity, to which Pendleton was the first to accept. Any form of awkward accusations.
Now,
of awkward accusations or offense taken was done away with.
Now then, I must be going. Should anything else occur, do contact us straight away.
Of course. In turn, I shall entrust the safety of this mansion to you and your guard. I bid you good luck in the race to catch Jack the Ripper.
All were warned from last night's events, with some officers even rubbing at their eyes as they drifted back to their post.
Oh, what a farce this has been. Though we were solely lacking in options to begin with.
Thank you. Truly, thank you.
What I said was the absolute truth, you know? When I see Jack next, I swear, I'm giving him a hell of a talking to. He should be ashamed of himself. Just what was he planning to do after sneaking into your room if he hadn't been caught?
I don't understand.
A man like that can only have ulterior motives. With that mug? Oh, he about screams depraved from the rooftops. Don't you see it, Emily?
Watson, stop asking inappropriate questions of a young woman, or you expose yourself as a lesser man who deserves to go to jelly school.
Holmes sighed heavily. You knew the inspector would dismiss your testimony if you didn't outright deny your relations with Jack. That's why you said all those things.
It's half the truth. The other half was genuine, though. I don't know how to feel after seeing you defend him so earnestly.
Watson continued with motions similar to when he was being questioned by the inspector, waving his hands and making crude facial expressions and accompaniment. Does that mean you weren't acting then? You're angry with him?
Well, for all our differences, I did see him as a friend of sorts. I do know he's involved in some sensitive affairs he can't discuss with us, but that doesn't turn his lie into the truth, doesn't it? The story of his illness was a load of rubbish. I think it's normal to be angry.
I suppose you're right. I was pleased by Watson's answer. His frankness was, as it always had been in the past, refreshing. I'd been so afraid. I don't know what I would have done had Jack been the Ripper all this time.
Well, dismiss it freely. He has been proven innocent in this matter.
The threat in that letter never came to pass.
Let's not rest our laurels, however. The culprit may not have had a simple change in plans.
The Ripper case is far from over, yes. We'll see more from him before long.
Ah, but we can rightly celebrate Miss Whiteley's safe day. You being alive and well is what matters most.
Thank you again, Holmes. Watson, I'm so happy you protected Jack.
I don't know if I would put it that way.
It's good of you to say as much, my lady. You were so adamant to come to his defense that your testimony surely holds no value.
Yes, well, I could do with learning to better hide how I feel. I couldn't help but avert my gaze and look down at the ground. I was embarrassed by my actions, but that was not the whole of it. More than embarrassed, I was reminded anew how good those around me were to help me when I needed it the most.
That should be enough for today. Recall if we have found anything new.
Holmes and Watson made with quick goodbyes before turning to leave the mansion. Oh, thank you again. I'm glad you were here.
It's our pleasure. We'll always try to be there if you need anything.
Have you not already thanked us plenty?
But it will never be enough. Shall I do as Jack said and run? If I do, I won't see Holmes and Watson for a while. Nor would I be able to see Jack. I had been left alone to reflect within my birdcage once again. Dawn had not yet awakened over London's East End. As such, its dismal streets were barren, save for a single boy who slinked through in a depressed manner.
I couldn't follow the Colonel's order.
He bit down on his bottom lip.
It was just us. I could have easily done it had I wished to. But I didn't wish it. I don't wish to kill her. Not following orders is a first, but it only takes one time for him to suspect I ain't worth the trouble, and she would be next. Damn it all! What can I do? There must be something. Some way out of this I ain't thought of yet. Something other than killing her.
As the shadows around him slowly faded with the sun, Jack thought back to his brief time with Emily. It made him recall that he still had her handkerchief, which he observed once more to grant him a moment of peace between panic. It was a beautiful piece of fabric, soft, elegant, like her. It reminded him of pleasant times, as well as the kindness she did not hesitate to show him.
She's never run from me, even at my worst. She saw me murder a man, and all she did was speak to me as she always did. The Ripper runs through London streets and brings fear to the people, and yet she still stands her ground. She refuses to run or hide. She protects her family name at any cost. It's not often you meet someone with her resolve. I ought to strengthen mine in turn.
Jack began to move again. It didn't matter where the smell of cheap alcohol or rotting meat would pervade unabashedly. They were not unexpected, but rather smells he was all too familiar with. East Enders had long given up the ability to retch at such horrors. Dry gin quelled the people's sorrows daily, while the rotting corpses of animals drenched the air with a humid warmth to blanket those sleeping without a roof. The West End was heaven. Few believed hell could be worse, so the East End was merely earth.
Who's this?
I can do it.
Go for it.
Well, look at that. Can't say I did not expect to see you here.
Emily?
A robed boy glided from seemingly nowhere before Jack.
Of all the times.
He knew this boy well, and it was known with a grimace he spared no effort to conceal.
Could say the same to you. If you've got work to do, then get the hell on with it, Bradley.
Narfi, you can embrace Bradley.
My word. You got some poor manners. You poor. Very poor. Then again, you always was an unfriendly sort. Ever thought about being friendly with me?
You're aggravating. So stay out of my way. I don't care to stand around and be civil with those in the same trade.
So? But I don't recall you having many friends. Ain't that right? Is it 'cause you don't want no one nearby to see you fuck up?
Shut up! I said I just don't care to be civil with you.
But we got so much in common.
Do you have anything in that skull? Leaking secrets to each other's forbidden. I ain't keen to be civil with you, and the organisation ain't keen on the idea either. We see each other, we get on as strangers, and turn the other way. That's the rules.
Certainly, Jack did know this boy, and he would say whatever he could to keep him at a distance. The two had many years behind them. There was little for them for Jack to decide that they were in any way close.
Almost forgot. Got a particular question.
Bradley, whose manner of speaking was jovial and a constant relative to a drunkard playing an instrument off key, raised his pitch higher, still to express his delight.
You still ain't killed her?
Delight, yes, but there is no warmth to be found. Jack could not see where Bradley's eyes, coated in glassy dew, were looking.
You're useless. What the? You're useless, to be plain. Can't even clear up your own damn mess. I'll say it now. I will. I hate people like her. Lucky people. Born to be a respectable family. Always run around buying pretty things and la-di-da always have life go their way.
And then, quite abruptly, Bradley's eyes shifted from unfocused to staring into Jack. And he laughed. It was a faint laughter on the outside, but to Jack, it was pointed, naked in a way that unsettled him.
Really makes me want to vomit. She come over to the East End too, didn't she? Oh, I can imagine the surprise. Booze burning the eyes cause the stench so horrendous, and the streets! Probably enough to make her start bawling. Oh dear. Oh, poor dear indeed.
Sounds like you've been nosing around my business instead of doing your job.
Evans, no. You're a right terrible judge of character. In fact, if you need, and we summon, I will be obliged to lend you one of me. Sorry, one of mine. Perhaps say, if you need a certain gal took care of?
Jack grabbed Bradley fiercely by the collar. He lifted the petite boy, who, now robbed of movement, showed no hint of trepidation. Rather, he continued to enjoy himself.
Oh, what's this?
That's it. Not another word.
Come on, you and me. We're one and the same, eh?
See here. Don't you even think of meddling where you ain't supposed to meddle. You got your work, and you shall damn well leave me to mine as I damn well leave you to yours.
I got it. Christ.
Bradley was quick to surrender, on the surface at least.
You step out of line, I will kill you. That clear enough?
Crystal.
One was livid, the other content. Jack still held Bradley's collar, but Bradley's boot touched on the ground now, and so any physical discomfort his thin frame may have had was no longer. He joked.
Treat me to something nice, alright? Apart from booze, mind.
The conversation was done. Jack let go, and Bradley adjusted himself briefly. With one last smile, playful, darling, and dark, he turned and skipped into an alley not yet brightened by morning and was gone.
Ugh. He's a terrible disgrace.
A few off-color oaths under his breath later, Jack hurried on.
Police have certainly taken to their patrols here. Each new murder seems to bring in loads more.
He evaded them well enough until he approached one amongst the East End's many dilapidated homes. So ordinary was its condition that no officer would have seen it worth his time to investigate, if he saw it at all, which was very much to the benefit of its seedy occupants. Jack entered through the back and was immediately greeted with a downward staircase, the end upon which he found another locked door blocking him from going further underground. Would rather, had he not already possessed the key. With regular movement that suggested he'd done this many times before, he unlocked the door, slid inside, and locked it again from behind. Down another staircase he went. Each step seemed to drop the temperature. The air became stiff with the cold. When Jack was met with a third door made from thick oak, he stopped and knocked.
Colonel Moran, it's Jack.
Is it? Very well, then come inside.
A dignified curtness befitting a military man welcomed him from the other side.
Thank you.
I was not expecting you, as I'm a busy man. So, what brings you here?
I've disposed of Emily Whiteley, sir.
Jack produced a bundle of hairs from his pocket. They were not false evidence. They did indeed belong to her, plucked without her knowledge. Jack had taken great care not to hurt her when they met. The ruse would not take long for the colonel to discover, but any delay was better than none.
I apologize for taking so long.
I dearly hope so. Your slothfulness has made a mess of the situation. For more than it needed to be. We now have Sherlock Holmes, his son, and Scotland Yard sniffing around our grounds. All to investigate the Ripper case, of course. It was the last thing we needed. With every day the police continue to linger about here, our work risks being compromised. The name, Jack the Ripper, is meant for the most feared assassin in the organization. The name should be yours, and yours alone, except now the papers are stirring up trouble with this new Ripper. You're clever enough to know who's responsible for this. Signs all point to a nuisance who would relish the moment and the use of confusion of your name for personal gain.
Sir, you can't mean...
Silence followed, but they behaved as if words were said. Their locked expressions were an unspoken ritual time and time and time again, more times than Jack could remember. The name unspoken was always someone whose days were numbered by decree of the colonel's will, and Jack was his weapon through which lives were claimed. Jack weaponized himself with routine banally, yet today his unnamed victim caused him to stir.
It's Bradley, yes. That boy is truly a mischief maker like no other. He treats murder as something one does to pass the time. Bodies are his dolls, the streets his nursery. If only he would content himself to his work, but the cracks have become rapidly apparent. He desires death over disposal.
I've seen it myself, sir.
However, he has the Professor's support, which leaves me little room for error.
His fingers began to tap rhythmically atop his desk. The more vexed he was with the dilemma, the more violent these tappings became.
I understand, sir. I believe I can find a proper excuse to dispose of him.
Oh, I could do that. What gives me praise is the proper excuse you were made to dispose of your first.
We shall wait for Emily to return.
I'm back. Colonel Moran pointed a gun towards Jack. The gesture was returned with Jack's own blades.
You still haven't killed Emily Whiteley.
Nothing gets past you, does it?
Bah! What's happened to you? You were the Ripper worthy of the name, but here you are, a pitiful boy wearing only the same skin.
Don't call me that!
Oh, Jack the Ripper, what's happened truly? Did you forget that I was the one who found you, starving and on the verge of death at the corner of the workhouse? That I was the one who raised you into the assassin who stands before me today?
Colonel, I know what I owe you, and I shan't forget. Since entering the organization, my life was guided per your orders. Answering to you was my whole life, and I was proud for it. I murdered men who chanced to spread whispers behind our backs. Men so blinded by greed that they were willing to betray you for an easy mint. I did it confident it was to maintain order, to protect your world. But if you kill her, it's my world that'll fall to pieces. That girl will soon become a great beacon who will guide those suffering in London. Surely you've noticed her mother is...
That is enough, Jack. All I'm hearing from this is that sending you to Harrington was a dreadful mistake on my part. You were to kill her by your own hands, and if not, she will die by another's. She will be no beacon.
The colonel was not a man to falter simply because the child before him was his. What must be done, and he kept his gun pointed to ensure his will was shown steady.
There are many assassins in this city whom you've never even acquainted. I could very well leave your final moments to them. But we are on the same intimate terms, you and I. I am the one who taught you how to kill. would only be appropriate for me to escort you to Hell's doorstep. Now, consider yourself fortunate to be able to protect my world one last time.
Sorry, one moment. His gun fired. Sparks exploded in one swift flash.
What?
The face which stared Jack down was not one of victory, but of confoundment. The Colonel's eyes were stretched to their limits, and despite the haziness of the room, reflected in those wide eyes were Jack's claws glistening, and at the same time darkened with new blood. Two men who thought they did well to stand guard in complete silence failed utterly. They were now props in an even stronger sense, on the ground, writhing upon being afflicted with a sharp pain that continued to spread in stronger waves. Blood, too, seeped from their bodies. It would not seep for long, however, and the pain would subside. With a disquiet utterance, the two went from men to corpses. There was only one left who stubbornly clinged to suffering. Jack stepped ever closer, careful to avoid sheathing his blades into open flesh.
Colonel, I owe my life to you. And I swear that your days spent creating me won't go to waste.
Jack had not yet finished speaking when the Colonel's vision tilted. The Colonel did not see the moment as an outsider would in some fluid sequence. He was standing by a well individual, and now he was on the floor, his breathing slow and fragile. The biting cold of the ground may have caused a sharp stir in any other circumstance, but for the moment even cold could not be felt.
I knew this day would come, that you would turn your fangs on me. I just didn't think I would be the one to fall. Among the many I raised to kill, only one stood more capable than you. Pity you could not overcome the weakness that girl ingrained in you. It will not be long before Bradley claims her. She will be the finest feather in his cap as the People's Ripper.
Each utterance was more strained and less audible than the last, but what he finished brought him contentment. Upon the name of a murderer, his head dropped. His eyes remained half-lidded. Jack closed them before standing.
I only intend to use what you've taught me one more time. I'm going to settle the matter myself. Farewell, Colonel. You were the only one to ever scold me, discipline me. I won't forget.
Jack, now the sole man breathing in that room, the floor more blood and bodies than places to maneuver, took its time cleaning his iron claws. Day passed into evening, and evening to night. They were soon radiant, more radiant than he ever recalled seeing them.
Bradley, your sense of smell is so decent that a drop of blood from an ordinary man is the same as a river for you. But it don't matter how capable a killer you are, 'cause I will stop you. I swear I will.
Iron smell had settled into the air as dust to old furniture, and Jack could lounge no longer. Now quite satisfied with the cleanliness of his tools, he left the basement behind.
If that double murder was Bradley's handiwork, then it's possible he is on his way to the mansion. Am I going to make it in time? What if I'm too late to save her? Then I'd perhaps have to make it know. And I'd perhaps have to make him know her fear of horror. Fear and horror. God, I'm so sorry. I don't fancy the thought, but he's right. We're the same. We take lives and we continue to survive. But I shall send him to hell, even if I must go with him.
Jack's resolve strengthened in the event the worst would come to pass. He closed the door leading to the outside behind him. Into the night he went. Much like when he entered at dawn, police officers roamed the streets with vigilance, turning every corner they spotted and inspecting every crate in hopes for clues.
Damn, look at them all.
Emily's handkerchief provided Jack a certain degree of refreshment in the moment, and so he kept it close to his person. Like many nights before, the fog swept through the East End, hanging thick, high, and low in equal parts.
Fog is pretty heavy. The fog is perfectly heavy now. I ask you, stay heavy for me. Keep me from them just a bit longer is all I ask. I need to catch up with him before it lifts.
Or so he hoped, but the hope lifted more swiftly than the fog as he caught sight of a silhouette on horseback.
What is he doing here?
Whilst he could not see this fellow's face, his build, tall and slim, brought to mind someone he knew quite well. Someone he did not want to fight.
Yo, I was right.
Jack! I knew I'd find you here.
Watson glared down from atop his steed.
Would you kindly fill me in on precisely what you're doing here?
Don't believe I'm obligated to, so I'll kindly not. Now, if it's all the same to you, I'm in a hurry. And if it pleases you to stand in my way, then I will move you.
I knew this is what it would come to, really. And you won't move me. Not without a fight. You lied to us, Jack. Whatever happened to taking the remainder of the year off for illness? What possessed you to share secrets so dangerous that it would irreversibly shift the course of her life for the worse?
If the lies and secrets bother you, why not confront her about them directly?
Are you mad? I'd never do such a thing. Do I look like the sort of man who would pry secrets from a young lady when she clearly would prefer not to discuss them?
So you do possess some manner of tact.
You'd best take a healthy look in the mirror before lecturing me on tact.
Watson dismounted, the better to confront Jack, who was prepared for confrontation.
I see you'll do just as you like to stop me, regardless of whether it's wise. Don't come crying to me when you get hurt.
Then give it your best shot.
Shut it!
Jack made the first swing upwards with his claws.
Oh,
Watson was a reflexive man, for he evaded the attack by a hair's breadth. He cried out, a heightened tension in his tone.
it's something I need to know, and I need to hear it from you. You weren't the one responsible for last night's double murder, were you?
I wasn't. And the boy who was is a great deal more terrifying than you've ever known. And as we dally here quarrelling for no bloomin' reason than your bloomin' preference, that boy makes his way to Emily. Once he sets his sights on a victim, he won't stop till they've been spoiled. Can this not wait? I need to help. I need to keep her from that monster.
This duel of sorts continued despite verbal objections, with Watson soon being backed against a nearby wall. Jack played a game of exposing weaknesses, targeting Watson's blind spots till he was left without means to escape. Jack predicted no less than victory with no mistakes. Upon his last strike, however, Watson managed to escape, grabbing hold of Jack's wrist.
Yeah.
This hadn't happened before. Creases of panic were briefly set in his face.
You're going to protect her? And I'm meant to believe you?
Stop!
Watson's grip only grew tighter, till he soon began to twist Jack's arm upwards.
You certainly don't seem to have the strength you had during our last encounter. Are you that distracted?
Damn it! This is a dead end too.
Oh,
A rapid pain struck Watson's leg, causing him to release his grip.
he's gone? Where?
Watson surveyed his surroundings, but there was only fog to keep him company, yet he retained his focus well.
But he's sure to show himself again at the Whiteley mansion.
He raced to his horse and mounted her again, snapping the reins to set a proper course.
I won't let him get away next time. I will find out the truth.
Thunder rumbled in the heavens. The clouds were dark, dancing to a blustering wind, swirling with a striking furiosity above the Whiteley mansion.
My lady, we need to leave straight away.
But where will we hide? How are we going to leave the mansion without detection?
Never fear. Your father prepared well for the possibility that something like this would happen.
Did he?
Indeed. He was a man of supreme justice, and thus he attracted a fair number of enemies to his name. This led to the creation of an underground route in the event of an emergency. It leads from the mansion directly to the city's suburbs. I'd intended to make use of it to save her, but before she could flee.
Mother? That is the first I've heard of this.
I will speak of it in detail for you another time, for the memory is not a pleasant one for me, nor is the situation as it stands now. I had rather hoped we would never be forced to make use of it. I have tasked Alicia with gathering your things. In the meantime, where to flee?
Why not wait for a short while longer? Have yet to tell Holmes and Watson where we'll be going.
No, you mustn't tell anyone. We don't know who means you harm.
Pendleton, you can't be suggesting that Holmes and Watson do.
I was merely illustrating a point. No one in London is to know where you're going, and there will be no exceptions.
At least until Jack the Ripper is caught?
Correct.
I nodded. This was a day I could scarcely fathom. Me flee the mansion? Even in the present, the thought provided an otherworldly sense. We've been reduced with so few alternatives that we shall have to do as you said, Jack. Perhaps I'll never see you again, nor our friends. It was the price I was to pay to keep the Whiteley name alive.
We ought to relieve the servants of their duties for a time as well.
I agree. It pains me to turn them away now, but what other choice do we have? To leave them to their work wasn't possible. What if the Ripper were to use them? Hurt them?
Nika.
We'll pray for your health, my lady, as well as a swift return.
Thank you, Alicia. As soon as the murders stop, I will come straight home. I'll need each of you to take care. Please, stay safe for me.
Certainly. And when you're home, I'll bake you some of those delicious custard treats you love.
Wonderful. I can taste them already. Alicia was always so genuine and filled with warmth, as were her words. Everyone here was. This was my home. I loved it dearly, and now it was time to leave it behind. The more I thought of it, the more the loneliness swept through me.
Everything will be all right. The Holmeses are on the case, and they certainly won't fail in solving it.
Yes, absolutely. Shall we be off, Pendleton? Using a key he already possessed, Pendleton opened a heavy door that led from the storehouse to farther beneath the ground. I wondered, when did that key last serve its purpose? And yet it mattered not. Upon the creak of the door opening, we stepped inside and began our escape.
Serves you right, saucy Jack. Surprised you killed sweet Daddy Moran without sobbing your brains out. But now you got no place to call home. And you only got yourself to blame.
Bradley lightly rapped upon the door before him.
James.
Who is it?
Just me. Bradley.
I see. Come in.
A heavy voice laced with an ill temper responded. The professor was commonly in such moods, so they meant little to Bradley. He entered the room as instructed, and an equally foul gaze pierced him, that of Professor Moriarty, a man eternally confined to his wheelchair.
Hi, Professor Moriarty.
What do you want? Out with it. I'm a busy man.
The Colonel's been murdered, sir.
So he has. I heard such a moment ago.
Should have known as much, really. Then do you know who's responsible?
Jack, most likely. For certain, rather.
Well, so you do. Ain't a finer example a dirty dog taking a nibble of its master. Stupid master, too. That Colonel Moran. Shan't think he was ever very good doing out discipline.
Bradley let out a low, languorous chuckle.
You would regard your superior so disrespectfully, Bradley.
Superior? That's a fine joke, Superior. He was older, but upon me word, he weren't worthy of no respect. Just a sorry fool. Oh, sorry. Just a sorry fool to his sorrier end. When you needed a stone cold art, it would take a mush. Oh my god, these words. It would take mushin over reason. Simple as it was, and I don't begrudge Jack for using that to kill him.
He took Jack in and raised him as his own. I doubt he left this world with regrets.
Bet he regrets going through the effort of giving him a false name and sending him to school. Whilst I did my job proper, he honestly thought Jack superior, a traitor. And he still ain't off the tart who saw him killing neither.
You proudly continue to spout ignorance, I see. Now, who'll be the one to remedy this mess?
The professor pondered with such concentration that Bradley could have retired right then, and his churning mind would have been none the wiser. Bradley, however, took this as a moment to behave as a savior.
You don't got reason to worry, Professor. I reckon I'll do it for you, and then I'll do old Saucy Jack too. I can fill in quite nicely for Colonel and Jack both, so...
He was interrupted, quite alarmingly even for him, by the professor banging his fist at his table.
Be quiet, Bradley. I'm trying to think.
I'm sorry. I'll shut me jaw now.
Get out. Moran's death left a great void in this organization. And you flatter yourself thinking that you, and you alone, could fill that void. I shall speak candidly. You could not. Now, before you make me angrier, get out. Go and do your job. Drown in your drugs for all I care. Just work, you fool!
Professor, Sir...
Bradley's bravado was lost. Meek apologies fell short upon a glare wreathed in repugnance.
Out!
Yes, sir.
Apologies would never be enough, as it were. With a faint heart, Bradley exited the room, fumbling and stumbling gracelessly before the door. Nothing could calm them. He was now alone, but the dread of having committed wrong persisted. All he could do was stare at the door.
Does he sincerely mourn the Colonel's death? But ain't I a better choice than over that bungler? What's so good about him? Got all the love in the world for gent lackeys he can use. Got none to spare for rest. But used to pay me mine old compliments. Said I was a clever one. Was it all a lie? No, he ain't a liar. And I'll prove him right. I swear, I'll do everything he needs in the Colonel's place. Be the Colonel, slice up Jack, and then be Jack. Whoever needs a ripping, I should be around to do it. I'm the only killer in this organization needs. I just don't need others who might think it a loaf to try and kill me.
He was confident he could be tasked with this, so sorely confident that it may perhaps be said the professor's discouragement only enlarged his ego twofold. From his boyhood perspective, this was a great part of his blossoming plan.
Why am I so bloody frozen? I feel ill.
A sense of restlessness came to him in a sudden fit to his hands, shakes and a burst of cold that besieged him skin and bone. As it grew in intensity, it struck him that the temperature surrounding him had not dropped.
God damn it all. It's worn off already. Knew it weren't gonna last long. This elixir's just cheap shit for a swigger. I need something that'll last me. I'm gonna butcher Emily Whiteley. See her shriek from agony and might replaced. Oh yes. I'll learn her and Jack and a real mean and a fear.
As no one was around to hear his thoughts, Bradley whispered his desires jovially to the accompanying nonetheless.
I've got a horrible feeling. You killed 2 people as it stands. Do you need to kill a third, Bradley?
Jack floated from rooftop to rooftop with regular adroitness. By Jack's luck, the fog covered much of the scenery below and above him, the ideal condition for allowing him to move undetected.
The patrols outside the East End are full of holes.
He was correct. Within patrols were as close to ideal as could be desired from the police. Without, it was vastly inadequate. Barely any time had passed since he infiltrated the Whiteley mansion, but that had starkly little effect on security.
What state have they come to if they cannot manage to guard a mansion under attack?
Jack surveyed his surroundings. The city as it looked now, with clouds lining main streets and darkness obscuring alleyways, granted itself the appearance of a criminal's paradise.
Emily, I beg you flee somewhere safe.
Whatever feelings he may have had upon studying it, that paradise was to bask in by virtue of his birth. Society had no plans for a blemish such as he, no greater destiny, nor the mildest hope of a new beginning. It made her handkerchief, elegant down to her name embroidered in gold thread, appear all the more out of place when in his possession. The moon gave only just enough light to grant her name a lovely shimmer. But he could not admire it for long. Something nearby gave him pause.
There's someone in the same business as me. Where are they? The fog is working against me better judgment.
Jack sharpened his senses and continued to survey the area. The fog did not run amok, pure in color, but was amply tainted with a menacing black hue that dried Jack's eyes and brought a soreness to his lungs. His every breath, however subtle, tasted of bitter coal. This, he suspected, would leave him feeling ill were he to breathe it in for too long.
They must be using the fog to their favor like I am. They won't make this task a simple one. Could it be Bradley?
A terrifying possibility struck Jack, too terrifying to dwell on, and so he just as hastily dismissed it.
No, suppose that would be agreeable to me for now, so long as I make it in time.
At that moment, the silver flicker of a knife from behind caught his attention. Jack shifted to the side in an instant, but only for the sake of avoiding this preemptive attack. He had yet to discern who his assailant was or how close they were. Smog impaired more than vision. It dulled hearing, deceived smell, and petrified the heart, leaving one with this harrying sense of being alone. Jack preyed upon this paranoia countless times in the past, but this was the first time someone had used it to prey upon him.
Damn! Are they that close?
Jack raised his claws to prepare for the confrontation as best he could against an unseeable assailant. But it was for naught. No sooner had he guarded himself did a knife arc through the air towards his side. Jack dodged the attack a second time, but he still could not discover the whereabouts of this attacker.
A nasty fight, this. But there's only one person I know who could pull a fast one on me. Bradley.
Squinting his eyes for a keener focus, he finally spotted a faint shadow hiding behind something equally indistinct.
There he is. When should I strike? Now? Or rather not. It's certain to be a trap. Just thinks he can taunt me.
Jack did not have the stamina to keep on the defense. That and his disadvantages were growing. Traveling via rooftop has exposed him to air too brisk for a man to mind for long, and the night's misty texture had long since dampened his clothing, making the cold all the more noticeable.
This ain't good. This ain't good. But better to strike than do nothing and lose.
Jack thrust forwards, taking a swing with his weapons. Yet it hit nothing. The only thing he cut through was air.
You can't hide. Stop cowering in the shadows and show yourself. I know who you are. A boy who's sure as his drugs. Come out, Bradley.
Jack made to ridicule the boy out of the shadows, but for a brief time, there was nary a response.
You're a coward, Jack. Don't make me waff.
Knew it was you. What brings you here?
What? You know fee too well. I'm Tripson Fort right here. On my way to finish a job you ain't full of fraught on. I'ma rip Emily Whiteley to pieces, that's what.
Whilst giggling softly in a low voice, Bradley stumbled backwards.
Is he not watching where he's stepping? He wobbles like a child. The elixir, perhaps?
Were he to take one wrong step, he would fumble from the roof and that would be the end of him.
That should do me all right. Would prefer he off himself and save me work.
Bradley danced between buildings without a care, frolicked in a situation widespread with danger like a drunken boy who knew no fear, behaved giddily and menacingly in unison, all the while daring Jack to do the same.
Oh, saucy Jack. What's wrong? Afraid? I'm right here.
Jack would step forwards, and Bradley would hop back.
Crafty little thing. Can't catch him like this. But I can't afford to lose sight of him.
Jack narrowed the distance between them in one motion, aiming for Bradley's heart with his next strike. It was not the wisest choice he could make. A severe pain seized Jack by the leg, holding him in place. This was the only indication that Bradley had met success. There was no scream, nor even the tiniest grunt. Nothing. This iron will could be attributed to the colonel's persistent instruction over many, many years. Each lesson was more strict than the last, but they were necessary. As an assassin, Jack was bred from his childhood to make no noise in order to evade, to kill, and to survive. Bradley knew this well. It made the tightening of Jack's throat as he suppressed the urge to cry out all the more satisfying.
It's alright. Just get the tendon in your leg a bit. It'll be a bitch to walk. But at least there won't be much blood.
You!
Jack, despite his injury, raised his voice to establish himself the predator, but it had only taken the one attack to sap him of his strength. The boy's smile broadened.
It's all over, Jack. You sign your life away from doing it to the Colonel. But you got me in your corner. I shall admit, I didn't fancy the man. You know, but never had a big enough cock to kill him. Bye-bye, traitor.
Bradley thrust a kick into Jack's waist. The force was devastating when coupled with the pain. Disturbed overmuch, he lost his footing and tumbled from the rooftop.
No!
It was to be the end for him, certainly.
Emily?
Now see here! This isn't the Jack I know!
Oh.
I was gonna say. Maybe
I
it's
hate fucking question marks.
Yeah.
What?
Jack was stunned. A tall, broad-shouldered individual had come to his rescue, not only saving his skin from the fall, but courageously walling himself between him and Bradley. It was the one whom he recently made his escape, Watson.
Did you like my Emily impression? I thought you were a stronger man than this. Perk up, Jack.
You thick! This is no time for jokes! What are you doing? Run and save Emily!
You're the one who's thick. He's the... Sorry. He's the one who means to hurt her, right? I wouldn't dare turn my back on him. And even if not for her, what would happen to you?
But...
We've made ourselves disagreeable on occasion, but you're risking your life to protect her. You're a good friend. If we don't stop him now, let's just say that Emily will ever be safe.
Then you'd like to fight together? What a blooming fool.
Come on then. With both of us going at him, we might manage.
Might. But I should warn you that my leg's not going to last long.
Huh?
This sure is an affectionate sight. I says himself. I says it often. A good-for-nothing like Jack can't get on with no one. But I see you got some dear friends from school. Dear friends. And a pretty girl, too. You're now a jolly good schoolboy, ain't you?
What business is it of yours? You should sooner concern yourself with me paying you back for my leg.
I welcome it, schoolboy. Could complain. Could complain. I can't say that for some reason. Complimenting.
The word
That
complain.
thank you.
Yeah, you can just say complain. That works too.
I don't want to. That 2 in 1 is unfair. But you've gone and turned fresh on me, so let you have it. Ari, hurt me all you like.
After declaring as much, he jumped to another rooftop at the opposite side of the street.
Wait. The hell? Where's he going?
I don't know, but it might well be a trap.
Main Street is part of the Yard's patrol route. If we play our cards right, it's possible we can work as one to...
Beg pardon, but me and the police ain't on the best of terms. The only one I shall be relying on is myself.
You're hurt. This isn't the time to be stubborn. Nor is there any harm in relying on others once in a blue moon, you know.
Bother your lectures. Don't need it from a chap too weak to be of help to me. Would rather you just don't get in my way. It would narrow the gap between you and... It would narrow the gap between you two in an instant to gut you. Use your blind spots against... What the fuck? Use your blind spots against you to turn you cripple. And take you out upon first opening he sees.
And I'll be sure to keep your blind spots in my field of vision. You'll be doing the same for me, naturally.
It's not going to be as simple as you're putting it now.
I know, and I like it that way.
They were well aware that Bradley was using the night's shadows. Other dogs were passing by smog to aid his position. There were two, but he was Bradley. They could not afford any slack.
I know where you two are.
His voice rang, disembodied. It was not long before he made himself known as a flash cut through the air next to Watson.
Watch it!
Oh. Huh?
Second flash flickered behind Jack. It was tinted with blood upon its edge.
Can't be!
Jack spun round to see the back of a clouded silhouette cautiously attending to their surroundings.
There you are. You let your guard down.
He dashed forward to strike the silhouette.
Jack, stop! That's not him!
What?
It was not Bradley who nearly fell victim, but an innocent patrolman.
Ah! Did he throw us off his scent deliberately?
Whatever Bradley's intent, the officer received no harm. Watson hastily stepped forwards in the man's defense, bearing the brunt of a light injury for his gallantry.
Watson, I didn't mean to hurt you.
Think nothing of it. Your leg's a fair bit worse than this kitten scratch. Take a deep breath now. That's it. There we are.
Right. Sorry.
You Jack the Ripper! Don't move!
Stop! You have the wrong man! He's a...
I can't let Bradley escape!
Jack darted his eyes in every direction in hopes of catching anything amiss, but there was nothing. Bradley had long since left the scene. And whilst the real Ripper was gone, more officers had piled into the streets in his place.
Damn it!
Are you alright?
It looks worse than it feels, I assure you, but listen closely. He isn't Jack the Ripper. The true culprit is making his way to his next victim as we speak. Jack was only trying to stop him.
But he attacked you. Look at your injury. Why would you defend him?
It was a misunderstanding. He's my friend. And we've proven that he has an alibi. You can't still doubt him.
I fear we've more than enough reason to suspect Jack Millers of wrongdoing. We can't prove beyond doubt that the Ripper murders have been the work of a single perpetrator.
Enough nonsense! Don't you trust me, Inspector?
I understand well your desire to protect him. For now, we should discuss this matter further at the station.
Inspector, all I want to do is protect Emily. If it'd please you to arrest me here, so long as you swore to keep her safe in return, I wouldn't mind it. London's police defend the people round the clock with their lives, and for that, I do not overstate my position when I say they shall always receive me unwavering respect. But he is no ordinary criminal. You can't tame a boy like him. He's a monster produced by the East End. And only monsters know how to quell fellow monsters. The Ripper is on his way to kill Emily Whiteley. And I need to stop him.
Jack, whose injury had become as such that he preferred not to stand whilst in security, finally did stand.
Jack, wait! I'm coming with you.
Watson stood shortly after, placing great pressure on the wound which first caused him to kneel.
It's enough. You ought to be prioritizing your injury first and foremost. As for you, if you won't allow us to escort you willingly, then we'll have to do so by force.
All in unison, the surrounding officers pointed their guns at Jack.
Just lovely. I suppose now's a good time as any.
Watson placed 2 fingers to his lips and gave a sharp whistle. It took no time for his call to produce results. Watson's horse, Platinum Rain, barged into the scene. She neighed uproariously and raised her front legs in the air in a violent show of dominance over the officers, who in turn scrambled to avoid being stomped upon.
Good girl, this way.
The horse responded to his instruction just as quickly as she had the first time, allowing him to hop on her back and prepare for his escape.
Jack, you're accompanying me, aren't you? To protect Emily?
I am.
Watson extended his hand and Jack accepted it. Within seconds, both were securely on horseback.
My apologies, Inspector. You'll let me have it later. That's alright by me. Just a bit short on time for the present.
Watson had to shout over the commotion, but he wished to remain sincere towards the inspector, even if he was disobeying him. He was absolutely certain the inspector would be eager to share all manner of colorful oaths later, however.
Wait. Do you think you'll get away with this?
Inspector Lestrade, I'll accept any punishment you deem fit for me. I just need a bit more time, please.
Watson directed the horse towards the south and readied their retreat.
Men, put your guns down. We're to make chase. Contact the guards at the Whiteley mansion straight away. Yes, sir.
In a pleasedly shorter time than they had been relegated to traveling by foot, they reached their destination, the Whiteley mansion.
We've made great time. Not as close as I'd like, but will stopping here do?
It's perfect. Too close and the yard would see us coming.
Jack dismounted and took to their immediate surroundings with trained observation. Nothing was amiss.
Very well, then. Just make it quick. I'll make my way inside the mansion soon enough. If Scotland Yard finds me, I think you'd sort out what we started.
I'll be alright. I ain't stupid enough to let myself get caught, so you focus on getting her safe.
With your leg the way it is, I am worried.
Oh, well, it's just a scratch. Don't mind it.
All right, Chad.
I'll make my way in easily enough, thanks to the fog. Speaking of thanks for bringing me here. You're not a simp. You're no longer a simp. Even if I was to disappear for good, I should think someone who lives in the sun suits her better than a boy in the shadows like me.
Don't say that. Much too ominous for my liking.
It's true, though. Alright then. I'm off.
Within seconds, Jack was swept into the fog and completely out of sight.
All I can do now is pray Bradley hasn't found her yet.
With versed stealth, Jack slithered into the mansion's garden, leaning against one of its larger trees to further clothe himself in the night. From there, he could make a detailed assessment of the mansion's going-ons.
Don't get the sense anyone's here, but there's light inside. Then...
The unease squeezed at his chest so strongly that his heart may have well burst.
Did she listen and run then? But why are there so many guards still about?
The mansion was locked at its entrance. It would be folly on his part to attempt barging through the front, as circumstances were, and so he climbed to the first floor roof to enter through a window.
If I've got any luck left in me, then it's a simple ruse. But if I'm too late...
The window he had chosen for a second time was the one leading to her room. The curtains, which no doubt would have been drawn by one as observant as Pendleton, were curiously open. And the door? Why, that was half open as well, suggesting she may have left in a hurry. There was little else to see that piqued his interest.
Seems her room is empty. Thank God.
Impatient as Jack was to confirm Emily was well, he could settle for not bearing witness to a nightmare of viscera upon peering within.
It's much too early to fit myself in cheer. Pains me to admit, but breaching the mansion would be child's play to Bradley. I want to hope you believed me, Emily. More than anything.
Jack was sincere. Whatever judgment the law would grace him, as it seemed inevitable upon the end of this horrific affair, he would embrace it. He would smile in a cell and greet the noose if it meant he could prevent her an early journey to heaven. Or, as it was not out of the realm of possibility, he would meet his end sooner by Bradley's hand. The destination for him was the same. The difference was that Bradley would be joining him.
Listen, it's too quiet here. Eerily so. Rumor has it The Ripper murders his victims without making a sound. It's held true till now. I want to think you'll save Emily, Jack, but this is no friendly bout in the ring between men. His skill's as monstrous as it is beyond you. I wish I knew what was happening, or knew she's alright, at the very least. The police will sooner arrest Jack than twiddle their thumbs and wait for an explanation. Jack's a cunning bloke. This leg isn't helping him now. Maybe I ought to stop idling here?
His mind made up, Watson approached the mansion and called out to Sergeant Ryan, who was one of many guards assigned to patrol its face.
Evening, sir. Everything going well?
Oh, evening to you as well, Watson. We've detected nothing out of the ordinary, but we can't be too careful.
I hope this doesn't come across as too sudden, but I wanted to see how the situation looks inside.
Now wait just a minute, Watson. Is there any reason why?
Why? I want to see for myself that Emily is safe.
Well then, that I can permit. I'll have an officer escort you inside.
That's alright. I can go in on my own.
It is not alright. The Ripper may well attempt to sneak inside. Even I don't have the authority to let you wander in unaccompanied.
The sergeant appeared to sympathize with Watson's concerns, but sympathy would not be enough for him to grant exceptions.
Does that mean I'm a potential suspect as well?
It's for the best, Watson, and partly for your own protection. I'll have you know. Partly for your own protection, I'll have you know. Besides, we've a number of men currently positioned inside. Were something unfortunate to happen, they would have called for assistance.
If they were killed before they could.
I'll commend her for a clean escape if she has. Don't see her air of evidence as to where she's gone. I cannot be certain if she's been killed, but I don't smell blood. Be safe. Please, be safe, Emily.
Jack lurked in silence till he reached the main hall. Silence like this was telling to a man of his experience. Whether they absconded in favor of another location or were taken by force, there was no one else but him in the mansion now. Yet this was not a signal to poke his nose around every corner, any which way. He still remained as noiseless as his surroundings, and every step taken made so little sound that it would be no exaggeration to wonder if he walked on air. This was assisted by the carpeting at his feet, which was of notably exquisite quality, helping to muffle any extraneous creaks and taps one would naturally make. He had to dispel this as a complete boon, of course. He repeated to himself, what was helpful to him was helpful to Bradley also. Jack moved from the hall to near the main entrance, which was open and left few hiding places fit for a full-grown man. At once, the spacious area was occupied with the sound of the door creaking.
No! Who's that? The police? Or...
Jack sank into the hallway before his presence was made known. It was only upon seeing it was Watson who entered that he relaxed his guard.
Emily! Are you alright? Answer if you're in here!
Watson's voice was strained with a fearful tension. He shouted again and again, unable to suppress his worry.
Watson! Emily isn't...
Jack made himself known and stepped into better light.
Ah! I know you!
He realized his mistake only when it was too late to reverse it. A meek voice stammered from behind Watson, shortly followed by a familiar dark-haired man. His voice shifted from shaken to stunned elation.
Ryan, no, he's...
Well done, Watson! You were trying to alert me to his presence, weren't you?
He wasn't. Nothing of the sort.
You're Jack Millers, aren't you? Rather, you're Jack the Ripper! Apprehend that boy!
Yes, sir.
Guards from all their varied stations were alerted and arrived with heavy steps to raise their weapons at the culprit, Jack. He didn't have time to wonder just how capable each of these men were with their aim. So many cascading in at once, guns were pointed and fingers lined their triggers. He could not escape without harm. Instinct willing, Jack made ready for fresh pain and a clumsy exit, which soon became completely unnecessary.
Don't do that. He's alright. He's my friend. So don't be so harsh with him.
Watson came between the many officers and Jack.
Watson, the hell are you?
Is it really so surprising? I'm the one who brought you here knowing you were injured.
Keep at it and you'll land yourself in hot water as much as I am.
That's fine by me. Now go! Hurry! You're the only one who can stop Jack the Ripper. You know that.
The camaraderie was charming, but it did little to serve their dilemma. Watson raised his voice, to which the yard gave a booming response of their own.
Not so. We can't allow it. We mustn't. We've put ourselves on the line as much as you have for this case.
The response came from Inspector Lestrade, who presented himself with apt timing and a stern brow to intimidate the young man into compliance.
We cannot allow there to be more victims.
There was no pause between him speaking and taking fire at Jack's leg.
Jack?
It didn't go through, but...
Him!
The inspector's order was absolute. Officers charged to surround Jack, pushing Watson's broad form aside as they did so. Jack resisted to his best effort, one that was quite offensive to the eyes, as his injury left him with little energy to do much resisting.
Don't.
A futile protest. There was no stopping the arrest of the false Ripper.
Damn it! I can't let this happen!
Despite his adverse circumstances, the false Ripper continued to think of Emily.
I hope all is well with her. Stay safe, Emily.
The corridor where we walked was a vision of chilled stone. It was so dark that even with a lantern to guide us, I could see little more before me than a pit of blackness. It concentrated to an endless point, only stretching backwards through cracks like veins. Pendleton, how much longer does this go on?
We still have quite a ways, I regret to say, for it shall lead all the way to the western outskirts of London. Are your legs feeling tired by any chance?
No, rather this is a pleasant stroll to me. The clack, clack, clack of his and my boots occupied much sound for a time. Clack, clack, clack. Each echo was brief, as brief as a puff of smoky breath in the air. There's not much to note otherwise. Water from above dripped into tiny pools, and we took care to avoid them. I do feel some guilt slipping away whilst the yard stands guard for me, completely unaware of my absence. But my sole duty is to escape and ensure my survival, isn't it?
Very much so, my lady. There are times when it is necessary to deceive your allies in order to deceive your enemies. For now, you are to focus entirely on your own safety.
Pendleton was good enough to carry several days of supplies for me. This was not the first great change I've been thrust into. Indeed, I could really recall the day I first moved to London from the countryside. I was so fevered with joy then, it felt as if my life were beginning anew, and I wished today granted the same feeling. After the culprit is caught, Pendleton, will I be able to attend school again?
Of course you will. Jack the Ripper's case has thrown London into a panic, but it cannot last. Life will continue as usual after the culprit is caught, I'm sure.
I'd like that. Then after the case is solved, I think I'd like to make a little school of my own. I know it won't be possible to make anything on a similar scale to Harrington, but I should dearly like to see the poor children of the East End have a place where they may study. A place where they can learn to read, to write, a place where they will have food to eat. Humble goals, but it would move me to see it.
My lady, the East End has more than the poor, but criminals and those forced to abandon their old lives abroad. It is a gathering of malfeasance? I don't know how you say that word. Of evildoers.
That is precisely why the people there need education and welfare. With Her Majesty's blessing, I was able to attend school for the first time, and it made me so happy. But there was apprehension. I feared I wouldn't fit in. Through all my life, I had no need to wonder these things, but then the thought plagued me, what if I can't be of help to anyone? What if no one would accept me? What if I made no friends? What if I were so peculiar that others would watch my every move, like some sort of anomaly? All that happiness from a single letter, and yet the nerves were like nothing else.
I never knew, my lady.
We were steady with our walking the entire time we conversed, but I knew well how closely Pendleton paid my feelings mind. I'm grateful that my nerves were for nothing. Every one of them welcomed me with open arms. It took time for me to adjust to my new life there, but they accepted my good points and my flaws. I did stand out in some ways, of course, but I was hardly the only one who did so. That gave me a different sort of comfort amongst my schoolmates. It also helped me to see the school in an entirely new light. We have our studies, our friends, our teachers, our private worries, and our reasons for apprehension. All of these come together as more than the conventional studying as we know it. There is more to absorb than what is written in our textbooks. Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful thing school is to me. I took a peek at Pendleton's expression when he did not respond. He looked as though he were lost for words. Did I say something strange?
The opposite, my lady. May I ask if you thought this through yourself?
Is it so unusual? I don't know anyone who would recommend I open a school. I imagine you're opposed to it as well?
Well, well. It truly does run in the family.
Pardon? What does that mean?
Oh, simply musing. I feel very certain you will see your friends and teachers again. Now, let us hurry.
Indeed. I wonder what you're doing now, Jack. Wherever you are, I wish you well. A sole silhouette stood to oversee the city from atop the tower of London's highest point. It was Bradley, thin in frame and the palest of whites in color. Bradley, who cloaked himself in a red robe and made himself a master of blending into darkness.
Got what you deserve, Jack. It's maddening to think, after all that, you still got copped. Idiot. Still got no one to blame but yourself. If only you had killed her like you were supposed to. The Colonel was too generous with you. And he... with all he gave you. Saintly so. But look where that's got him. More bloody up on the outside than in now. And now that people assume you done the same for all those tarts instead of me. All the work I put into Jack the Ripper, and you get copped. You get rotted in a cell. Oh, shit on the street is what you was and nothing more. Couldn't do a simple job of gutting proper, and so you ain't worthy of a name I built. Emily Whiteley gets to carry on because of you too. But you know it wasn't gonna be forever. Someone in the professor's information network will have found her for long.
His eyes were glassy domes. They were empty beneath their surface. Only the city, a glimmer of snowflakes to be shaken as lights below him flickered, could be perceived.
Now, tremble pretty for me. Tremble all you realize I'll be the one to kill her in the most gruesome way I please. Society shan't find pieces till it directs its horror and anguish and anger onto you. Don't matter if you was innocent. Really, people just seek an easy target, and you made yourself the bullseye. They can't handle all that hatred in them. So if they got no one to be angry with, they go all balmy. I couldn't ask for better. From now on, the one Professor Moriarty will treasure over the rest of the filth will be me.
The giggle he suppressed elicited in its place an exquisite quiver from his chest, one which extended to his fingers and down to his toes and bloated his figure with far too much joy to be contained.
Tomorrow will be a sprightly affair upon reading the paper. God bless it. Jack the Ripper's merry murder spree shall come to an end. Or will it?
And from where he once stood remained only air. The thick, heavy iron door screeched as it opened.
Tom?
Get in.
Ugh.
No mercy was had when Jack was tossed into a lightless cell. It was cold. He would have sooner thought the stone were blocks of ice if he could not see them, though it wouldn't have mattered. Lumps of straw were scattered into what was once a makeshift bed, now quite impossible to do any sleeping on, with several of these having dried, red marks speckled along them, together with the stains on the ground. Most light he had was cast out as the guard shut the door.
Don't think you have any chance of escape, Ripper.
Must be a beefeater. Tough lot, they.
The Tower of London had an esteemed guard fit for its massive stature and history, yeomen warders, whose name became as known as their striking black and red uniforms. And then there was their other name, Beef Eaters, created by the casual tongue. The name's origin was lost in time, though many rumors and speculations thrived. Some were complex, others were as dull as believing they were once paid solely with beef. Whatever the reason, there were men of reputation, and the man charged with Jack's imprisonment was the picture of such. A derisive glare crossed his squinted eyes and scrunched nose through the bars of the window.
You're a rather docile one for a mass murderer. Almost doubt myself for thinking you're the same man who terrified all of London. No matter. People will finally have their due rest. May sleep securely in their beds tonight. Perhaps you ought to begin your prayers to God if you wish to live. His ears may be covered. I shall keep mine open for a listen. All I can do for a sinner, really.
I prefer the wall to your face. Leave off then, or I shall become angrier.
You might think you're a fright now, but you're only a lamb behind bars.
The lamb had enough bluster in its bleating to send the man retiring with a sprint. Jack could hear the speedy clicking of heels, which shortly became mute in the distance. The iron door entrapping him was thick. He knew immediately it would take an unruly amount of physical exertion to budge it.
The hell am I supposed to do now? I can't sit here twiddling my thumbs whilst Bradley preys on Emily.
The only light provided for him now was a barred skylight, a dismal, worthless square that did little to brighten his direct surroundings. Jack pondered if those who spent enough time in a cell would eventually turn to the stars for company. Such ponderings were interrupted when the once fading steps of the beef eater became the booming, flat-footed steps of another.
Hello, Jack Millers. How does it feel to be a prisoner in the historic Tower of London?
Well, it's awful, naturally.
Naturally, yes. So, do you still claim that you are not the true Ripper?
I do. I don't profess me innocence on the whole. I shall answer for crimes I've committed another time, but this one I shan't. Taking my liberty isn't going to stop them. I'm telling the truth. Please, believe me.
I'd like to, Jack. But think, all of the Ripper's characteristics and actions are consistent with your identity. Why would you ignore that much evidence?
It's inconsistent. I was at the Whiteley mansion when the double homicide happened.
Can you prove that you weren't walking alone then? The murders being so close could have been a deliberate choice of yours and your co-conspirator to throw us off your scent. What you have done is unforgivable. Do you know the weight of your auras?
I know it. And I told you, I'll accept punishment in time. My concern for the present is whether the police are equipped to protect Emily Whiteley. What's become of Holmes and Watson? Do they have the skill to keep her from harm?
Ah, yes. You're from the same class as them, aren't you? I have more interests in the other group of friends you have. The ones from a certain organization, to be specific,
Don't know what you mean.
Plain dumb. Very well then. even if you never admit your guilt. God knows the truth. He watches and he sees all of you done.
So what? You ain't God. You'd best worry more about watching London. Jack the Ripper is still out there. Of that I can tell you.
A curious statement, as there hasn't been another murder since we have taken you into custody.
Just tell me if Emily Whiteley is safe. Do you know what she's doing now?
I'm not obligated to tell you anything. And I'm sure you know this, but your chances of avoiding the ropes are slim to none.
None, I'm certain, and I accept that. I only wish to go without regret. Without regret. And dragging her in my world is mere one regret.
That's very kind of you. Were you responsible for that letter as it happens? The one in red?
I didn't write that, no. Putting that in the paper made the police look rather desperate too, it did.
We will do whatever we must to protect London.
No? Like what?
If what you say is true, and you wish to work with us, then I will allow it, on one condition.
Jack waited, a sign of his consent.
Tell us what you know about the organization you work with. Perhaps you won't share this willingly, but we are not above achieving the same information through torture.
What?
The offer still stands till you speak otherwise. If you feel even a trifle of guilt for your sins, and your desire to save her is genuine, you'll consider it.
Inspector Lestrade turned away. Jack was left with only the stars once again. Several days had passed since I began living in secret inside a hotel at the north end of London. No one other than Pendleton knew I was here. My only means of information, of one-way communication with the outside, was through the newspaper. And this particular morning's paper left me violently distressed upon reading its front page. This is a sham! Surely it can't be true!
What is it, my lady?
The following was printed in bold. Jack the Ripper is finally caught. The suspect in police custody, Jack Millers, had reportedly denied all charges related to the murders. An investigation is currently underway. Millers was arrested at the Whiteley family mansion, located in the city's southwest, by several policemen who were guarding the building. His arrest had been credited to the brave efforts of Inspector Lestrade of Scotland Yard, as well as trainee detective William H. Watson. What is the meaning of this? Really? I looked to Pendleton, who could only return my pleading with solemn eyes.
I'd hidden today's paper on top of the shelf in hopes you wouldn't find it. But I see you did.
Of course I did! Why would you even think to hide something so important from me?
Forgive me, my lady. I thought that given the circumstances, it would be wise to avoid anything that would place undue stress upon you. So...
That's very sweet of you, Pendleton, but I shall gladly take on the stress if it means knowing the truth in return. Jack taught me so much that I never knew before. Pendleton, I know of how you rack your brain for my sake. You wish to see that I'd never come to harm, and that I never know the true meaning of danger. You do it because you genuinely care for me. I'm aware. Trust me, I am aware. Perhaps in your mind, your method will help me to forget him.
My lady,
I wish it didn't have to worry him so. But how could I continue to live a lie? It's bizarre, really. I feel as though I'm unable to forget him. On the contrary, the more time passes, the more I long to see him again. This isn't right. He came to me, risked untold danger solely to try and help me. Yet in his hour of greatest suffering, I can't do a single thing for him.
It is true indeed that he made no attempt to kill you, and that he did all he could to aid you. But let us not mistake this act of goodwill as a man of goodwill, for we mustn't dismiss the countless unforgivable sins he has committed to date. If the true culprit behind the Ripper murders is apprehended, that doesn't erase Jack's own crimes, and he will most certainly be unable to escape the death penalty for them. You may discover this truth and expose the culprit, naked for all to see and judge, but neither he nor Jack will hurt as much as you for it.
The lecture weighed heavily upon my heart. I agreed on all points, but it still wasn't enough for me to falter. I know, you're quite right, of course, but please, Jack is being kept within the Tower of London now, isn't he? I wish to see him.
Absolutely not. I cannot allow that. Were you to go see him now, you would undoubtedly paint a target on your back for the true Jack the Ripper.
Pendleton, don't make me say it again. I wish to see him.
Please take another moment to calm down and think rationally about this.
I'm very calm. Now, look at this. I procured a carefully folded document.
What is this?
It lists members of an organization that Henry Millers, Jack's father through adoption, is secretly intimate with. His name on here is on the list, you see, though it isn't his real name.
My lady.
Jack the Ripper's work is to be finished. Not even close. He will kill 1,500 people, target more innocent prostitutes.
Do you recall what the police concluded upon analyzing the handwriting behind that threat letter? Jack Millers wrote it.
It concluded as much, but Jack can write a number of styles. In his class notes, he leaves the O open at the top, whilst the letter L consistently leans to its side. Then, in his letters to me, he closes his O's and his L's are very nearly straight. You can't see any ink blotches on the surface, but there's a lot of ink leaking through to the other side when he stopped writing. The dots of ink here and there on the other page must have come from the back of a piece of paper, too. To speak plainly, the letter was likely written by someone who took great care in copying Jack's handwriting. Don't you see it?
I see it now. You may be right.
He returned my summation with a soft smile.
You must forgive me once more. I believe I've been treating you a bit too much like a child.
Then you'll allow me to go see him?
I make no promises, but if you feel so strongly about it, then I shall see what I can do.
Oh, thank you. I know it isn't an easy decision for you, but you don't know what it means to me to hear that.
I only would like you to prepare yourself for what he has to say. It may not be something you want to hear.
I'm prepared. I've been ready to accept the truth since some time ago. So I said, but I felt an inclination I was trying to ignore well up in my chest. I could see him again, but would I be able to save him? Could I say that with certainty? You protected me, Jack, but you're still a guilty man. I'm happy to know we'll meet again, so why must anticipating the truth frighten me so?
What is it?
Oh, pardon me. It's nothing.
Are those tears I see?
They aren't. I'm not crying. But, excuse me, I must go wash my face.
Once you've calmed down, shall we go to the Tower of London?
Please. His smile grew softer.
Very well. I'll arrange for a cab to take us to the station then.
I was elated. I was afraid. I took deep breaths to regain focus again and again, but the emotions continued to duel one another in a gainless bout to dictate what I would do next. Truly, for what reason did I struggle like this? I would see Jack, and no matter what he was going to say, I would accept it. We stepped out of the train, stopped at Paddington Station. From there, Pendleton hailed another cab that would take us directly to the Tower of London. As the horse's hooves clopped and the carriage swayed, I glanced outside. It feels like it's been so long since I was last in London. The streets feel oddly nostalgic. I can hear laughter. School children, perhaps? Speaking of, I wonder if Holmes and Marple are in class at the moment, or...
My lady, please avoid looking out of the window. You don't know who's out there that can see you.
Oh, right. What was I thinking? I pulled the curtains together to block out the tiny gap from where I'd been peeking. Even if I couldn't see, I could hear Big Ben making itself known. By its chime, noon had just struck. Noon was a joyous hour on normal occasions, lively even, and a lavish in its friendly gatherings for tea amongst friends and family. The idea of attending school feels somehow nostalgic. When Jack and I were schoolmates, I was so certain we would grow closer with each new day. I was always looking forward to his letters, however large or small they were. I want to see you again. I want to speak with you again. But I'm afraid, when I finally see your face, what can I say?
What is it, my lady? Having second thoughts? The Tower of London is where the guilty meet retribution, where torture is performed, and where our Maker is met. If you're this agitated before we've stepped inside, then it's better if we turn back.
Nonsense. I've made up my mind. The world I was about to step into was unknown. I kept quiet for the rest of the ride to reaffirm my strength to Pendleton, but inside, the fear continued to build with an uproar. The cab stopped before the Tower of London. Ravens flew about its tallest points. They appeared every bit the ominous guardians they were foretold to be.
Business have you here?
We should like to visit a friend of mine, Jack Miller's.
Pardon me. Right this way, then.
The burly man gave a polite nod before leading us inside, whereupon he relayed our request to a second warder. From what I could see, I had no doubts as to its reputation of being a nigh impossible place to escape. Its guard was impeccable. I shivered. Within these elderly stone walls, an untold amount of sins past lingered. The corrupt had been held, tortured, killed. Pendleton and I stepped farther inside.
position. Jack
think you
Miller's
cut it.
position. Jack Miller's position as an exceptionally dangerous criminal has led us to placing him in the White Tower. Miss Whiteley, if I may. White Tower is full of other such highly dangerous individuals, as well as people guilty of political offenses. I should ask that you stay close to me.
All right, thank you. The aura of this part of the tower was just like the persistent prickling of piano wire, through which we had to weave in the most hesitant, meticulous manner to avoid being cut. It was nothing like I'd felt before. From both sides, I was stifled by the groans of inmates. I kept a steady pace, careful to mind my affairs and look in no particular direction, when I was at once rapidly pulled to the side by my hair. Ah!
What happened?
Someone just pulled my hair!
My lady, please, avoid straying from the center of the hallway.
I composed myself as best I could before complying.
Prisoners here have all gone mad, I'm afraid. Perhaps it's for the best. Mad or sound execution awaits them.
I do not have the heart to do more than a small nod. And Jack is here as well. How must you feel in this sort of place?
Ah, here we are. This is his cell. Though you are close to him, I feel I must advise you to keep your wits about you. He is, as you can see, and destined for execution.
It hurt to hear it said aloud. Where we stopped was on the farthest end of the White Tower's uppermost floor. It was a tense walk for me, but nevertheless I stood. The door which I faced had a single small iron-barred opening. I could see just enough. Jack?
Emily? Is that you?
Jack was crouched on the floor. He looked just as he did when I last met him. A touch more thin, I suppose, and his pale skin was considerably paler than usual. Had he been fed since being imprisoned?
Why? Why are you here?
Jack barreled to the door to come as close as he could. I'm sure it's a surprise, but I found out where you were from the paper.
Oh, that's how. You know what's going to happen to me then?
I do. Jack's gaze clouded as he turned away from me. I was right here, but this one door, this ridiculous door, made him feel so far away, I would have given anything to remove it. I wanted to feel the same closeness I felt when he came to warn me. Would you kindly open the door? I'd prefer to engage him more closely.
Cannot allow that, ma'am. Cannot allow that, ma'am, as he will soon face the death penalty. Cannot be freed. Most, he is permitted to converse with you in this manner.
Is that all then? Will I never be able to sit with him again? He's here! He's right here! I just want to talk with him so badly! It's so good to see you again, Jack. I hated the way my voice trembled. And Jack, I was certain, felt no better.
I told you to run. Why are you here? Why can't you listen? The true Ripper's not been caught, and we know he will stop at nothing to kill you. Bradley's gone on record to say he will murder 1,500 women in London, and if he said it, then he will commit. He isn't one to make humour about these things. I'm already bound for hell. Just a matter of when. Wanted to take him with me since me ticket's been booked. But I suppose it ain't meant to be.
They arrested you in my home, didn't they? Were you there because you thought I might be in danger?
That's not it. I am a murderer, Emily, and I have quite rightly earned my sentence. What I regret is involving you in this. All I wanted was take responsibility for that.
Responsibility? Why would you go so far for me?
Because you're important to me. You're my friend.
Friend. Friend! The warmth surged to my cheeks when he said the word. Which, to my sorrow, also brought to light the ache in my chest. I regret it if I caused you any pain by coming here. But after reading about you in the morning paper, knowing you were here, I just had to come. I'm so sorry, Jack. You risked your everything to tell me to run. Now when you need someone most, I can't do anything for you. I hadn't intended to cry, but before I could stop myself, the tears rolled down my cheeks and the shaking of my voice grew.
You don't have a thing to worry about.
He was quiet, so as to not disturb me, and yet I felt worse for it. Don't be silly! This isn't right! I understand that you need to atone for your crimes. I do. But you shouldn't need to take the deeds of others with you. The only thing I could do in that moment was cry out. This did him no good, I thought. This didn't change his future, I thought some more. My hurt served to grant me heavier tears and Jack an ever deeper sorrow.
Stop that. Do you have to look at me with that face?
He was even quieter right then. My voice could barely hold itself together, whilst his remained a steady anguish, one which became steady and sweet upon a new question.
Got a small favor to ask you, Emily. Stick out your hand.
What? I don't see why not.
Well then, give it here. Just for a minute.
I did as he asked and found myself taken aback by how white-knuckled it had become as I reached towards the bars. Jack did the same right then. He reached between the bars to take mine, and, conscious not to startle me, enveloped my hands in his.
It's alright. So if it's not impolite of me to ask, I'd like it if you didn't clench your fists so tight. You'll hurt your palms with your nails that way.
Jack,
Besides, when I see your face the way it is now, something in me makes it so I cannot turn a blind eye.
I was lost for words. Jack, who was in circumstances most would never know, whose final moment was to be a simple to-do on someone's calendar, who had no reason to think of anyone but himself, thought to comfort me. I wanted to open my heart to him. I was desperate to a point where it started to overtake me. The gaps between the bars were not particularly wide, and though Jack's hands were lean and pointed, he could only reach so far, but he still reached his farthest. All his efforts just to calm me, just to hold my hand. It was everything I needed to feel at peace.
Have you calmed down a bit?
Yes, I have, but can I stay like this a little longer?
Of course you can. Your hand's shaking, you know.
Well, I'm afraid. out of my wits, really. What can I say, Jack? When I first read you had been arrested, I'd grown so upset that I hadn't a clue what to do next. After you said to run away from London, I gathered my things and I left the city straight away. But I could never forget you. Even after leaving, I was a woman possessed with worry. I couldn't sleep at night. Every part of me longed to see you again.
Really?
Right now, I want to tell you to run just as you told me, but
I ain't gonna run. I chose to wait here in peace till the end. I've accepted what will happen to me.
I knew you were going to say that. Never did I think to see a man so close to death look so alive. Jack's eyes, which by all accounts should have dimmed, glittered with a fire far too brilliant to dream of putting out.
Don't give me that sad face. This is how it was always gonna be.
But Jack, are you alright with this? Truly alright? You can look at this and see it as a work of fate? It was all too sad, and despite the warmth of his hand to comfort me, I knew I had plenty of crying left in me.
Emily.
He turned away as if he couldn't bear to look.
If it's what you'd like, you win. I'm happy you're here. If I'm honest, I felt ready to cry when I first saw you.
Did you? You don't look it.
Wish I did for you. I'm not used to showing much of how I feel the way you do. Still, thanks to you, I'm better at it than I was before.
Much better, I should say. Why, even I find you easy to read at times.
Still a cheeky girl you are.
Jack showed me a bitter smile. I've an idea I'd like to share with you, Jack. You see, I intend to start collecting donations so that the children of the East End can begin attending school. And I'd like to use some of the wealth my parents left to me to start a small school of my own.
What? What do you mean?
Due to Her Majesty's kindness, I've been blessed with the chance to attend school. I've loved my time there. So while I cannot do much, I'd still like to create the same wonderful opportunity accorded to me to other children who wish to learn. I'll employ educators from the slums too, teachers, those with some proficiency who have yet to find a proper use for it, and other such people.
Certainly a charitable thought, but, well, it ain't a cheap one, is it? Think of all that time and money.
I have it sorted. A man named Spencer's agreed to let me use the first floor of his general store for a very fair price. It's quite spacious, enough for 40 students by my estimation, and it'll be more so after tidying its storage. In return, he'd like for us to purchase the children's lunches from him. This way I can allow children who work, children with no homes, any child who has the will to study, to enjoy a healthy life with friends.
So you do then. Still look like your head's in the clouds, but you've given this some proper thought.
I wondered what about that made him seem so fragile in that moment. Now, didn't I say before that the first part wasn't necessary?
Oh, I suppose you did. Sorry.
I just hope the murders come to an end soon so that everyone can give their futures the same proper thought.
I want the same. I really, really do.
As the conversation naturally moved to silence, Jack looked up at the sky through the barred window above him. The sky was now grim, cloudy, yet he looked as though he were gazing at something beautiful. Even if you tell me not to 1,000 times, I will expose the truth.
Wish you'd give it up already.
Or so he said, but that bitter smile returned.
Whiteley. Afraid your time is up.
Very well. Thank you. I turned to the guard just briefly to acknowledge him before bidding Jack farewell. Well, even if I must say goodbye now, I'll come again as soon as I can.
You go through well all this blooming gloomy and you want to come again? You leave your sanity at the mansion?
He let go of my hand.
Bye, Emily.
Well, I'll see you soon.
Shall accompany you to the entrance.
If only I could snatch that key from the guard's hand and set Jack free. But even if I did, Jack would not leave. The choice was ultimately his, and he had chosen that cell.
Was this enough for you, my lady?
Certainly. There wasn't anything more I could have done. Let's be off, Pendleton. I kept my eyes steady towards the ground. I didn't want Jack, nor anyone else, to see my quiet sobbing. What do I have to do to save you, Jack? Her Majesty's ring has no power in this situation. Is there nothing within my means that would change your fate?
Is it hard to believe Jack the Ripper has been caught?
A real monster, that one, and I swear I ain't ever seen worse. You won't find me complaining about the execution come round this month.
Complaining? I'll be celebrating, and I reckon won't be enough to see him dead. Gotta make a real show of his suffering first.
I'd like the sound of that. What say we have ourselves a good laugh and throw a few sharp stones for the news finishes him off.
Cheap ale was the drink of choice throughout a small pub located in the East End. It was during times of depression, of prosperity, or when finances were middling. Its patrons were rarely afforded luxuries. Tonight was a lively time, to be certain. No matter whose table one joined to indulge in conversation, the topic was Jack the Ripper, the exception being, as his age made him quite conspicuous, a lone boy.
I'll have some fried chips and potatoes.
Listen here, youngster. A boy like you best run home directly at this late hour. Just 'cause they got a Ripper don't mean the streets are safe, now understand? Or is it you have an interest in all that murder talk? You plan to watch execution, then?
I certainly do. Bound to be rather humorous.
Humorous, he says. Humorous? So you fancy yourself a big lad here, and a big lad's pub for entertainment. Very well then. Why not part with a few shillings for a big fry or what? Where'd he go?
Ain't seen nobody but you. You're so drunk you can't tell a boy from a broom now.
You sound stupid whilst you can still make merry, idiots. Jack Millers is caught, locked up, and it's soon to shake hands with the devil. I rather fancy how well this is going for me. What will they do after the executing the wrong man? I wonder. Jack ain't like me. Saucy Jack ain't the sort to take pleasure in dark affairs. So I shall have to make certain the world is aware instead. What a sight it'll be to see. A London who thinks it's all over. Happiness down the streets. Never a gayer lark with booze and smiles. Oh, the ecstasy. As I then begin to kill so brutally, the coroner would faint. It's gonna be the best feeling in the world.
Winter made itself known as a chill burned London's night air.